Here to talk about self-develop. No, I'm getting so confused. Guys, hi, we're talking about global career. So sorry. We're talking about an international career, how to make the best out of it, together with Heather Bown, Ryan, Jay Owens, and Janelle Burse. And I'm going to try this one more time on my laptop. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to switch to my mobile again because it seemed to work better.
I don't know. I think you should just stay on the mobile because it was fine.
Yeah.
I don't need to switch it. Hi, Heather.
Hi, guys.
Hey, thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing? Day 2?
Yeah.
Exciting. Already 2 sessions in the book today. It's fantastic.
Nice. Cool.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to, Susan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Why don't I introduce myself first before I go offline again? This is going to be a running joke. I am hosting the event and I'm like always gone. Anyways, my name is Susan. I'm a consultant. I run Fit Across Cultures, which focuses on athletes' transition, particularly in an international environment. I also do cross-cultural consulting for Fortune 500 companies worldwide. Lived in 6 different countries on 4 continents. Have a very multicultural family. So this topic of a global career and adapting to an international environment is very dear to my heart. And I'm super, super happy to welcome Howard and Heather and Ryan. And hopefully we have Janelle on as well later on. Why don't we start off by a quick introduction round? And guys, as always, you can check out each profile by clicking on them to see, more about the people. Share out if you have an interest for others to watch this, and there will be a replay available if you don't have the time. So hi, replay viewers. Heather, do you want to go first?
Sure, I can go first. My name is Heather Bown, and I currently am a real estate agent in South Florida. Previously, I was a member of the U.S. national team for about 14 years, and I competed in 3 Olympic Games for indoor volleyball and have a silver medal from the Beijing Olympics.
Woohoo!
Props for that. That's me. I have lived and played overseas in, quite a few countries. I lived in Italy for 10 years and competed there, and then I moved to Istanbul, Turkey. Lived a year in Azerbaijan, in Baku, and then went to Russia, played in Kazan, and then finished up my career in China. I was in Shanghai, so I've gotten a taste of kind of all the different areas of the world, and really, really loved it. It was a really great journey. And let's see, I guess that's about it. I've done some mentoring with a couple of organizations. That's very fun for me. I love being involved in sports, not so much just volleyball, but sports in general. Yeah. Being able to work with youth and kind of allowing them to see what they have inside of them and the potential that they could reach, through education, through healthy living, through just athletics in general. I think sports can bring and open so many doors for so many people. So that's kind of what I'm passionate about, and just kind of moving into the next thing.
Yeah, and I love that the experienced athletes are giving back by mentoring. I think that's a tremendous, way to be giving back to the community and sharing the advice, because a lot of this expertise and sort of the accumulated knowledge that you have from all of these years of playing abroad and playing professionally and in the US national team just goes wasted if you don't share it, right? I mean, I'm sure there's athletes sitting there right now Googling, how do I go pro abroad? They get some random blog posts from, 2001 because somebody posted something about this. And I think it's great. And that's also one of the reasons we're hosting this Athlete Lab, is to bring more people to one place to really, get knowledge, see the people that they can reach out to. I mean, we cannot cover everything in 1 hour. It's just really a glimpse of the life of an athlete, all of the different areas. But I think it's important to note that, these people are available. Reach out, talk to them, ask them questions.
Yeah, so people ask questions.
So Howard,
people ask questions.
So I think Susan was going to do the intro.
Howard, can you introduce
Yeah, so I'm
yourself,
Howard Brown. I'm founder and CEO of iballunited. We're a sports management marketing consulting agency. We're FIBA and NBPA certified. And really, in addition to helping players find and sign contracts and coaches boost their talent and also agents find offers for their players, really this is totally aligned with what iballunited was founded for, and really sharing knowledge and giving back to that international, and in my sports, international basketball community about how, what it takes to really make it and build and sustain a successful career. And I played 13 years primarily over in Europe and in Spain, but also a little bit in Portugal, a little bit in Israel, also in Venezuela. And really wasn't the easiest path to get there. So I'm really happy to be here today and share some of my some of my knowledge, and also learn, right? Also learn and continue to build. This is just awesome. Thank you for this opportunity, Susan.
Yeah, no worries. And I think one of the things we found from yesterday, which was the first day of the Blab, was that a lot of the speakers are connecting to each other. They're like, oh, this is so interesting. I want to know more. What are you doing? So this is really interesting to see. But to get into the topic of really, athletes that are looking to go abroad and start the international part of their career, whether they're going out of college or if they're a European player, they're looking to, make the jump to maybe a higher league, a different competition level. What would you say are the first steps you need to be aware of when you're going abroad, when you're going to a new country?
Really
Howard,
prepare yourself. Try not to, take all the myths with you, but really prepare yourself. Really be ready to embrace the culture. Really know where you're going. Really know your community, and also know the team that you're about to join. They have a rich history most of the time. They have a culture, and really embrace that. And I have to be the first to admit that I wasn't the most informed person, and really understood that. And it took me a little while to learn and adapt. But once you get it, you really become a value add to that organization, and you're able to actually stick around. One thing is getting your foot through the door. The other thing is, building and sustaining a career. And it's not the easiest thing to do, but I would say, really knowledge is the key. Really embrace the opportunity and add value.
Yeah, I would totally agree with everything you just said. And I think it's really important. And there's a lot of
Heather,
time. It's scary to go to a new country. Like, I know for me, out of college, like, my first place is Italy, so it's not that scary of a place. It's a gorgeous country, and the people there are very warm and welcoming. But like you're saying, like, preparing yourself, like understanding where you're going, even the history. Like, America is so young in our history as a country, and even to understand, like, where you're going, some of the places in Europe, their cultural history, their political history, like, whatever you can find. We have so many tools these days available to us from the internet, like any search you can do, talking to people that maybe have been there, or some sort of involvement with that community or with that nation. We're all so international these days, like, you don't even realize it. For me, the big one is the language. Like, it's the fastest way to get integrated into any culture you go to. Even if you screw up like every other word, the fact that you try to speak their language is, there was so many times in Italy, because I was very shy and timid to speak their language, because I was afraid I would screw it up. And so I wouldn't speak, but I learned a lot just by listening. And then you find out, like, going into shops, going to the grocery store, just everyday interactions. Like, if you can try one or two words of their language, you'll see their faces, like, you'll see their body language towards you change completely. So, like, with, like you were saying, Howard, like with the culture, like getting to know the culture within that is also like being able to be just okay being uncomfortable and okay making mistakes by trying the language. You had touched on like knowing the team history, the league history, like that stuff's huge. You know, where are you going? What are you going to be doing? Who are you going to be working with? That kind of thing. What players have played there previously? You know, what kind of, where in the league has the team usually wanted to finish? Stuff like that, to look in and do the research before you go somewhere. Because if you're a player that you want to up your ante and you want to build your career, is it smart for you to go to a team that's consistently in the bottom 3 of the league? I don't know. You're not going to get to go to all the European Cups and all of that stuff that'll kind of build your sphere of influence as far as who you know and who's going to see you. You know, because there are some great domestically abroad, it's kind of weird to say. When you're in your country, there's a lot of great domestic leagues to play in. But also, if you can get that extra kick by doing Champions League, doing Chef Cup, doing Challenge Cup, and this is for volleyball, I'm sure it's similar for other sports as well. But having that notoriety internationally on a base that's, you know, European fit. We don't obviously have volleyball here in the States, so we have a lot of our girls that go and play abroad. But it's, I mean, those are huge points to kind of just know where you're going. And it's just like a regular job, corporate America. You're going to research, you're going to do your due diligence going in. It's the same thing for athletes. I mean, it's our job. We're working. It's, a lot of people think it's so fun, but it's our livelihood, and you want to put yourself in the best position possible going into it and then build from there.
Definitely. And Heather, I want to get more into this topic of, you know, which league, which team, which club to look for, especially when you're starting out, when it's your first season abroad. Because I get a lot of questions from rookies going overseas thinking, okay, should I be looking for a club where I am one of the players that is supposed to make a difference, or should I go to a club where I'm learning and where I'm developing myself and where I'm playing with the best, but might be sitting on the bench essentially? But before we do that, Mark Roberts has joined us. So why don't you quickly introduce yourself, Mark, and let us know what you can add here in the international career session.
Hi, guys. I'll have to apologize first, Susan. Obviously, I was supposed to be in the last session talking about self-development, but it's great to be here. Great to be involved. Basically, to introduce myself, I'm Mark Roberts. I currently play professional football or soccer in England. I've been playing professional football for 14 years now. I've not had the chance to play abroad, but obviously with my career, I've moved about England, obviously, with the guys talking about relocation and all the different problems and great things about that I've experienced. But also the influx of foreigners in English football. I mean, even at my level now, which is the 4th tier of English football, there's lots of foreign players now coming over to England to try and make a name for themselves and move up the leagues. Yeah, definitely.
Mark, and I think that'll be an interesting... Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
Oh no, I just have a question for Mark. Being you're the native player, having the foreigners coming in, what's something that you notice them struggling the most with, or you notice that you can help them the most with by being the native
I was going to ask the same thing.
Well, I mean, clearly the first thing is the language. And fortunately, I suppose English being such a universal language, a lot of the players do speak either broken English or some form of English, but it's brilliant for the banter in the dressing room. It really helps to break down the barrier. They normally just throw themselves straight in and get involved. I have been in dressing rooms where there's been more than one native from another country, so there might be 3 or 4 French players, and that can be great because they can help one another if someone's further along in the language barrier. But it also can have a negative effect when things aren't going so well. They can form a bit of a clique. They can kind of remove themselves from the group, and that can obviously have a negative effect on the environment. But for myself, I'd love to speak Spanish. I have tried. that was one of the things I was going to talk about when self-development topic. I learn in my car all the time, whether it's a language or other things. And Spanish is one thing that I've tried to learn. And when obviously I've had the chance to play with Spanish players, I'll try my best to interact with them. So it's a two-way communication thing. But I think it can only benefit the football club. So the more foreigners, the better, I say.
Yeah. And I think that's a really great point, Mark, because we often underestimate the effect that it has of someone foreign coming into a club, right? I mean, it changes the atmosphere. Now you're talking about English clubs where obviously English is the native language, but I've seen this a lot in German clubs and Danish clubs, in French clubs, where there's so many foreigners that they actually have to switch the training language to English so that everybody can be understood, because they don't have translators for 5 different players in 5 different languages.
Yeah, I think so. I think certain managers will have help with translators, but ultimately, football being the sport it is, it's kind of a language all onto itself. So usually, once you're on the football pitch, everyone kind of understands each other on a certain level. So that does help the manager. And I suppose now we have so many foreign managers in the English game, particularly the successful ones. They'll probably speak 4 or 5 languages. I know that's how Jose Mourinho, he started his career in football was by being an interpreter at Barcelona, and he worked his way up to become one of the greatest managers ever. So there is definitely opportunities for people that are multilingual.
Definitely. Yeah, and Howard, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I think this is a really important point, because not only for adaptation, but for setting yourself and your team up for success. In any situation, any team that really achieved a high level of success, maybe won a championship, really everybody, I mean, it's true, everybody did get along. Now, everybody wasn't always the best of friends each and every day, but there was a family, a real family, a commitment to family, and we loved each other. When you win a championship, that's special, and it's not always talent. Yeah. So not only adapting to your culture, but also setting yourself and your team up for success is really important to be open and really, step out your comfort zone and be ready to, embrace everyone around you and learn and grow together.
Definitely. And I think that, the thing you bring up about the bond or the communication of a team that wins championships is so vital, because I always bring up the San Antonio Spurs as a good example, because they're so multicultural, and on paper, oftentimes they don't look as good as their opponent, but they have such a great atmosphere in their team. Whoever doesn't know what I'm talking about is an NBA basketball team, San Antonio Spurs, and they're amazing together because they put so much emphasis on communication. And I think the way they train is very different, in that they allow for these differences to flourish instead of, putting them down. But coming back to your own personal experiences, Heather, what was sort of the biggest challenge for you going into a new club? And Howard mentioned it's not only the city and the country culture, it's also the culture of the club that's different. What kind of goals they have, what are their ambitions for the season, what are the players, are they bringing in young players that they want to build up? Is it a very experienced team? What was the biggest challenge for you in the first 2 weeks after arriving?
I think I was very fortunate with the clubs that I always played for. We were always a more mature, experienced team, higher level in the league. So talking about the investment, wanting to be a championship team, like understanding we had players from all over that knew where we were going. We had that roadmap, I think, just already set for ourselves by joining that team. Like we knew by wanting to do Champions League, we want to get to the Final Four, whatever it was, we had that goal already in place. For me, the first 2 weeks is always getting used to the coach's philosophy, because every team you go to, the coach is going to be different. I'm coming from training with the US team, going overseas, knowing that the training's not going to be the same. They may want a different style. They have a different philosophy. They have a different game plan, tactical stuff. But being able to still stay true to my USA training, because going back, knowing that is working towards an Olympic Games, but still giving the best I can in the form that this coach now wants, and being able to find that happy medium. So I'm not taking any steps backwards or kind of trailing off to what I really need to stay true to, which for me was always the U.S. national team. I always enjoyed my teammates and stuff because I knew they were also on their respective national teams and working towards an Olympic game bid and stuff like that. So we all had that same just competitive spirit, but we also knew how to grow together to reach our season goal, which, you know, is always, I think going in is always those first couple of weeks, whether it's whatever, basketball, soccer, whatever it is, they all kind of have that, and you have to find out where you fit in that respective coach's game plan and what they need for you, what you can give to the team, what you maybe need to hold back on because somebody else can do it. You don't want to overpower everyone just because you know you're a stronger player. You know, I always had the best time like working with some of the younger players and like letting them know it's okay, because they get intimidated by all of these international, I don't want to call stars, but international players that have that higher level of expertise and experience, and just making sure that they're learning the right stuff. And when you see them struggling, because you know that's where you were 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was, knowing how to help them out of their rut, and so that their learning curve is a little bit more condensed, so they're not hurting themselves and hurting the team in the long run. Because the sooner you can get everybody kind of up to, I mean, you're going to have players that are up here and some players down here, but if you can bring these younger players up a little bit, at least your margins are less and you can be more successful. So I think that's really important for the first couple of weeks, kind of figuring that out, and just having fun and getting to know people, getting to know your city, whatever it is. You know, those are the big challenges when you're first going into a new place, is finding your comfort zone, even if it's not your normal comfort zone, but still being open to different things and finding kind of your cruise level for the season.
Definitely. And I think that, you know, you hit on adaptability and flexibility, which are, I think, key characteristics of a successful player overseas, because you will have to do things the coach's way and not your way, right? And of course, I mean, I hear this a lot from people in their first, second season abroad. Well, you know, in my country, we do it like this. And I often say, well, you know, you're the one that's going to a new country. You can't expect the country to change for you. You have to adapt to the country. Howard, how was your experience in the first 2 or 3 weeks getting to the new club in the new country, setting yourself up?
Yeah, so really it's night and day from your first experience to, you know, one of your last experiences, the things that you do. I think, you know, now more than when I started, and, you know, Heather and Mark, I don't know if you can attest to this, but there's actually a lot less support on the part of agents and the teams, depending on what level you're playing at. But I see that there's a lot less support for players to be able to adapt. And then there's a lot less, you know, tolerance if you can adapt. I know in sport of basketball, there's tons of players just ready to take an offer. And if you can't adapt, if you're not ready, then you know, you're really likely to go there and really miss out on a good opportunity and maybe never get that opportunity to happen again. But, you know, one of the things that is really important is getting adapted to the culture off the court. And that's your everyday living, your lifestyle. You know, I know in Spain, it would just blew my mind that, you know, I couldn't just get into the car or just go to the store and it'd be open 24 hours a day, or that whole siesta thing. And that, you know, every other week is a holiday. You know, that was really tough to adjust to. But, you know, really being able to adjust to everyday living, because that helps you, you know, eating, everything, that helps you to be able to perform on the court. So really, I would go and try to get, of course, the things that a lot of people don't think about, the banking situation, you know, getting your contract signed, you know, those really important things that you have to pretty much take on yourself a lot of times these days as a professional basketball player trying to make it abroad.
Yeah. I actually did a survey a few years ago with over 100 professional athletes, interviewed them, and to sort of find out what the biggest challenges were, and how we're, just like you said, it's the support. There's literally no support other than your teammates. So Mark, from your perspective, when you have people coming in from abroad, how do you see them being helped, particularly in football, because there's obviously a lot more structure there than maybe in volleyball, to say that. But how do you see them getting set up for success? Because oftentimes I feel there's a lack of integration support.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, even when I've gone to a new football club and I moved away from family and friends and you know, that support network that you're used to, you are relying heavily on your teammates to become your new family, and people within the club and people within the community, because it's sometimes very difficult as an athlete or a sports person to make friends, because you know, you have to be so dedicated to your sport. So if you come over from another country, you know, you're gonna know less people than you would, and you're gonna know less about the environment and everything else connected with the community itself. So it is very important, and I've always tried to do that, and other players will be the same, to try and integrate them into the group, to, you know, take them out for a coffee, to invite them on a night out, because, you know, team bonding is important. But yeah, I think if the players, it is definitely up to them. At a lower level, there's less help probably, but at the top level, I know there's structures in place, and there's people that actually are employed to help with relocation and finding the right place to live, and you know, helping them to bring family over, because a lot of the top soccer players will actually bring their own families. You know, if they have enough money, they'll bring their own chefs, and they'll have a whole entourage. Unfortunately, at my level, I'm unable to do that. But yeah, that's, I suppose, the difference between the top and bottom level, and the difference between other sports.
Definitely.
And if I could just add too, you know, I would say, you know, as a player, especially in basketball, and I don't know if this translates to other sports as well, but there's three, you know, people or groups of people that I would advise any player to connect with right away. So the first is maybe the other American on your team, or the other person from, you know, your home, you know, your culture, but also the team captain. Whoever that team captain is, that person is probably a veteran. They're probably well connected in the city. They know everything about that club, and a lot of times, you know, they want to establish themselves as a leader as well if they're new in that position. So definitely connect with them immediately, and then, you know, definitely connect with the young guys on the team, because those young guys are just looking for someone to take them under their wing and hang out with, and really sometimes they've been in that club forever as well, and they'll give you a lot of the good, you know, cues and tools and knowledge that you need to know about everybody to navigate around that new situation.
The political setup.
Yeah, there's a lot of clubs in Europe do like a pipeline, and so they do, like he's saying, with the young players. They are from the area. They have ties to the community. They know even the simple things, like you don't think going overseas, like I know there was a question on the live chat about food, and where, you know, we're accustomed to different things at home, and where do you buy that? Where do you get that? And what store is the best to go to, and stuff like that. That's where your teammates and your club come into play, as far as them helping you to find that stuff. So I fully agree with that point.
Definitely. And coming back to the question I already posed earlier, Heather, maybe start with you. What would you advise first-timers, say someone that had a really solid college resume, that is looking to go overseas and is not sure, should they be going for a club with a good opportunity to play as a starter, to have good stats, or should they be going to a club that has a very high level where you're training with the best in Europe, let's say?
I mean, that's a tough one. I'd be the one to want to go and like play. But I think it just depends on what you're looking for. And I don't know. That's a tough one. I think the experience, even playing with the top players, is going to give you so much experience. And if they're on your team already, you're going to have the exposure to a lot of the European cups and things like that. So I think starting off, that might be your best bet. I know when I first went over, I was not known. I went with another American, and I was on a team, and we were like supposed to be middle of the league. So that's what I started off doing. And then from there, like incrementally, like got on better teams, got my name out there, improved my play, learned their style of play, because their style, like I was saying before, like the style of play is a lot different. Just got comfortable within that sports culture that they had in Italy and built my way up. So obviously I went because I wanted to play, because you want to have the experience, you want to grow as a player. But if you're in a position where it's better for your future to be on a team and maybe not be a starter, or have that opportunity to be a starter, because you're going to push yourself anyways. Anybody that's looking to go overseas has that internal drive to want to be better, or they wouldn't go. So the fact that we're starting off with that, and then on top of that, playing with people, because as you train and as you play with a higher level, your level will raise. Like there's no way you're going to train with the best in the world and just stay mediocre. It's not going to happen. Like it's going to raise, because you're going to challenge yourself. They're going to challenge you. You're going to learn from watching them, by reacting to them. All of that stuff is going to improve your game. So I think like if you have a chance to play on a team with some great players, do it. If you obviously can go and already be on an established team and I don't know that you want to put yourself in a position to be the marquee player the first year out, because I think that's a lot of pressure with all of this other stuff that we've been talking about to kind of change and adapt to, and then put yourself in the position of being the marquee. That might be a little bit too much pressure the first year, but you definitely can kind of build into that. I would highly suggest that. I don't know any top player that went out first year, bam, top contract, top team, top player. Like everybody kind of pays their dues and works up the scale. Some maybe a little quicker than others, but there's still that, that spectrum that you kind of have to go through.
Definitely. And Ryan, we'll hit your question in a second. I just wanted to follow up on what Heather was saying. I think your first year abroad is crucial, right? Because it kind of makes or break your motivation to come back. If you have a first year and it just sucks because you can't adapt to the culture, the coaching style is, you can't adapt to that. You're having a hard time finding any contacts. You're sitting at home, you're Skyping, FaceTiming the whole time. You're homesick. It affects your performance. And in the end, you just want to leave. It's very hard to come back from that, right? So Howard, what would you advise be for, like we talked now with Heather, for first timers, for rookies going overseas, to focus on in the first year of going abroad?
Yeah, I think just be prepared, definitely shoot for the best, set some really lofty goals. But at the same time, be prepared if, things don't go right, to manage that first year experience in the most professional manner that you can. Definitely try to perform, continue to increase your performance. If you're not getting the playing time that you thought you were going to get, if you're not getting the opportunity to put up the numbers that you hope to get, definitely, keep trying to improve. It really depends on what level you're playing at, because at the, very high level, and you maybe have some pedigree behind you, then, there is maybe some margin of error, because you have some opportunity to go to another club. Just the fact that you're playing at a very high level and you're a proven player, you'll have the opportunity to go to another club. Now, if you're just trying to break through and that's your first opportunity, and you really need to perform, show numbers. And as I tell players that are just trying to break through and have broken through, get your video. Please get your video. Study your video. It's part of the game. Study your video, get better, but that's your resume. Really, embrace that first opportunity and see it all the way through. There becomes a lot of questions if you if you, for whatever reason, leave mid-season, did the player get hurt? Are they a bad person? Questions arise, and you don't have real stats. So definitely, if at all possible, see it all the way through and do your best to take it as, the opportunity that it is, your rookie season, and maximize the experience.
Definitely. It's the learning season, right? You fall, you fail, and you get back up. And like Ryan was saying, we've been talking about video so much that, just to underline, people, get your video.
Please.
A question to Mark, and this I think is interesting because obviously, from a domestic point of view, you see them come and go. Now, what's the difference? What are sort of the characteristics that you see in international players that end up sticking through and staying around?
It's usually the technical ability that is so different from the English game. I mean, the English game is so famous for its physicality. A lot of players, when they come from other countries, other cultures, other backgrounds, they've got a different approach to training, to the techniques, and they're far more, I wouldn't say technically gifted, but maybe have concentrated on that technical aspect. So as a player that's used to and been brought up through the English game, to see those players and to interact with those players and to train with them every day completely changes how you train, how you maybe think about your own practices and whatnot. Like, I'm a massive Manchester United fan, and Eric Cantona, when he came to Manchester United back in, I think it was 1992, he totally changed the way that the training was done. He was staying out after training. He was working on his technique, practicing his free kicks for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour after training. And that stayed with players like David Beckham, Paul Scholes, and suddenly they're copying and imitating their heroes because they see those international superstars and they bring so much to the English game that they want to be like them. They want to maybe try some different things that they haven't been taught as they were growing up, and can learn from different types of ability. And another one would be Arsene Wenger at Arsenal. He totally has changed the English game, and it wasn't so much about what was done on the pitch, it was more off the pitch and how you conduct yourself and how you live your lifestyle, which is so important. And the English sort of culture and nature was back in the 80s and 90s was to do plenty of drinking, and there was a lot of team bonding. But in terms of the actual physical aspects, people would go home from training and
team bonding.
Oh, the team bonding was brilliant, but maybe not so much the running the next day. He totally changed training regimes, training methods, and English players who were very much used to that suddenly woke up to the fact that they could actually be better, and they wanted to improve, and they wanted to develop, and they wanted to change their lifestyles. So I guess that's the biggest difference that an international athlete can have on you. It's definitely had an effect on me and how I've looked at my training and the way I conduct myself away from the football pitch as well.
Wow, I think that's amazing to hear the other side, right? To see that the people coming in have an impact that's lasting and will change the way the domestic players are looking at the game. Really interesting perspective. So thanks for adding that, Mark. And I just wanted to, point out that, we're talking about all these different cultures that might be different from us, but a culture is essentially created by the people that are in it. So if, you have a club and a club that's very international, it'll obviously be very different from a typical English club, right? Because the people that are playing there, they're bringing new perspectives. Like you said, they're bringing new exercises, approaches to training and practices. So Heather, how was your experience with that in terms of you bringing in things that they sort of adapted or that they thought was worthwhile trying out? Have you had any experiences like what Mark was describing?
Sometimes. I mean, obviously, it kind of depends on how the national teams do that year, and then that's like the style that everybody wants to try to like implement. So we had gone through a phase. I think it was like probably back around 2003, And our coach at the time, he was very widely copied. So we had gone overseas, myself and another American, and it was interesting to see them trying to do drills. And I don't know where they had got them, whether they watched our practices or whatever it was, but them trying to do drills that we had done in the USA gym. Obviously, they put their flair on it, and they still have their European style, but then they want to try to kind of mesh the two. Which is interesting, but I do agree with Mark. Like, there's a lot of people that will come into the game and change it. Whether right now there's a huge influx of seeing, over the last, I guess now it's probably about 8 years, there's more of the men's game into the women's game, and I think that's across the board in all countries. And they're seeing it becoming more dynamic, more powerful than it used to be. And so there's a lot of people that will come in and do different techniques or different strategies within the game. And you can kind of see that shift happening. And a lot of players that were really good in the old style maybe don't have the same effect in the more powerful newer style. And so you'll see a lot of generation shift in that time, which is really interesting. And it's also really good for any sport when you can get that kind of that step up, because it is making the game more explosive, more dynamic, more entertaining to watch. But for me personally, I think the biggest thing for Americans going over is our weightlifting. And being in the gym that way, I think that we have a basis, because we lift in college, we learn techniques and the proper ways to do things in college. So then by the time we get to our pro careers, we have a better understanding of, how our mobility works, how our strength can work for us inside, like doing the work in the weight room to get it to transfer onto the court. And there's a lot of times I've had conversations with the weight coaches over there, because they have a different idea of what an athlete looks like. Some countries like the long and lean, some countries like the strong and fit. Like, it just kind of depends on where you're going and what they're doing. And for me, my body type, I struggled my entire career with having body image issues and having body conversations with my coaches or whatever it was. But it was just the style of player I was, and my body, the way I lifted, the way I worked out. Like, I was always a bigger, stronger girl. I was never going to be the small, petite, skinny person that, maybe they wanted for the picture, or whatever it was that they had in their mind as what an athlete should look like. That just wasn't me. And I had conversations with other girls on the US team because they were in the same boat. It's just how our bodies were built. And that's another thing, I think, going into another culture, like, you're never going to look like them. You're never going to be them. You have to be yourself first. And take care of yourself first, because there's a lot of things that you get caught up in, this is how they eat, so this is how I should eat. And I just think you need to do what you need to do for your body to stay healthy so that you can compete at the highest level. But as far as changing things, I think probably the biggest thing would have been like I said, with the coaching and seeing that, and that was kind of fun. And then with the weightlifting, I think that was something that many of the Americans can bring over and kind of influence their prospective teams.
Definitely. Howard, do you have something to add?
The influence on the play, really, I see now, and actually when I was playing, it was becoming the case where, especially in basketball, the influence is more on the international game. I think is influencing the U.S. game. For the longest time, just from the beginning of basketball, the U.S. is the leader, and we're still the leader, right? But I think we've learned to understand that there's things that they do, the Euro step, definitely shooting, and things about running the pick and roll that they do really well. So I see that coming as an influence on the U.S. game. At the same time, I totally agree with Heather about weightlifting. I think we're advanced in that regard, and our players do take a high level of knowledge over with them from the university. And then, I think we have access to really cool things that they always want, like Under Armour gear and different types of things that they'll ask us to bring back with us during the holiday break, right? So I actually did some work with a nonprofit I founded in my hometown of Pottstown, the Dream Foundation, where we created some stretch bands that I used to take back and I used to use during the season, and the whole team wanted them. So that was a little bit of marketing on my end, but really, there's an opportunity to share. That's what it's all about: share and grow, and continue to improve.
Definitely. And I think, when we're talking about adapting, we're not talking to changing yourself and completely trying to become a Italian or a Spanish, right? What we're talking about is to adapting to being a successful player on an international level. You have to be able to adapt to different coaching styles, to different coaching philosophies, to different tactical strategies, which I think is something that a lot of players are struggling with when they come to Europe, to see, a different level of tactical strategies, or just a more technical play, less physical. So, we're not asking people to change who they are, right? You're still supposed to embrace and bring that to the court or the field. But in order for you to be a good player on an international level, you have to be able to work outside of your comfort zone.
Definitely.
And I want to take a few questions because we're coming up to the end of the session, but unfortunately I can't see them because I'm on my mobile. Ryan, do you want to come on quick? Mark, do you want to add anything before heading off? Because then I would kick you out quickly, bring Ryan in so he could add some of the questions.
Could I ask Heather a quick question? I just asked it then.
Yeah.
When she was talking about her training and maybe being from a country where the sport that you play is far more, I wouldn't say far more advanced, but maybe more advanced and more technical than the country that you're going to play your sport. Does that perhaps isolate you when you feel that you're going into a training regime where, not that you know better, but maybe you know different techniques, or perhaps when you're saying about your weightlifting, if they're a bit behind in the country you're going to, and maybe you've got more advanced options, does that maybe isolate you from the group that you're training with, or your management or coaching staff?
No, I've never had an issue, but I've always been very forthcoming with my coaches. I'll always sit down with them, whether it's the weight coach, I don't really talk much with the head coach as far as their practice plan, because that's their thing. Yeah. And I fit into it the best I can. But when it comes to the weightlifting, it comes to the work that I can do outside of the gym, outside of the court, I guess I should say. They've never had a problem with it, and actually a couple of them have really liked it, because then they can implement and they can see like what it does, or once you're explaining it to them, or they see what we'll usually do is take our training that we do with the USA team and bring the sheet, and we'll send it back to our weightlifter. So we still have a weightlifting coach that's covering us. It's just from a distance. And then they'll all have an open conversation with that season's coach and let them know, this is what we've been doing. This is the plan I would like to keep doing. Are there any things that you would like me to do on top of this? So I'm never like, I'm not doing your stuff, I'm only doing mine. I leave that. There's always an open channel of communication between what I'm doing and they, and also so they know, because if the coach is planning something and they have a certain training block, then I need to still fit into that. So if I'm lifting heavy and we're coming up to a big game, that's not going to work. So that's where the coach can be like, okay, we're lifting like this week. And then I can kind of tailor my workout to fit with theirs. And so I've never had issues isolating. There's always been strange looks. Like a lot of the girls will be like, what are you doing? How are you doing that? Why is that? It's because it's just different from what they know. And it's been really entertaining at some points, but for the most part, it's worked out really well.
Great question. Thanks, Mark.
No problem.
So Mark, I'm gonna kick you out. I'm so sorry. And I'm gonna bring on Ryan. Thanks so much for joining. Give Mark some props. Yay! This has been the best session in terms of everyone interacting, participating. Thanks so much. And if you haven't shared it, please tweet it out and share it with your network.
All right. Good luck, guys.
Hey.
Bye, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
And I know Ryan also has a lot of experience playing overseas, so he might even have, to add some points that we haven't touched upon.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
He's like so even keeled. He's like, hey, guys.
So I know we're coming up here on the end. I did my meditation, Heather. I did my headspace today.
Oh, good job. You're centered. Oh, I love that thing.
Yeah. I gotta add me as a friend. Anyways, 9 minutes left, right? And we wanna hit up some important questions that people have been asking. I see there's one question from Sully33. I think it was a father of a student athlete. I have a couple of students from a small school looking to get seen and known. What are some camps or exposure places they can go to get opportunity to be seen? Is this for basketball, Sully? Yeah. What Up Swags just asked. I know she does volleyball camps, so she'd be able to help you with that. Howard, basketball?
Yeah, so really, Eyeball was founded, our company was founded really with the idea that there are a lot of diamonds in the rough out there that get overlooked and don't get connected to opportunities. So we have a pro exposure camp, a philosophy where we do a national combine, an invite-only combine every year. And then we also do regional focus camps. And we've always been really transparent about what we have to offer before, during, and even after camp. And I really advise, anyone who's looking for exposure camps to really understand what that camp is offering, who's going to be there, and really demand, more. And then beyond that, share, right? So in addition to Eyeball Pro Combine and the focus camps, what we'll do is also offer a free membership to ICANN, and that's Career Advancement Network. And that is just our commitment to say, here are a lot of resources. Here's feedback from other players on other camps. Definitely share your feedback, because really we want the best to rise, and the ones that are out there who are not really creating an opportunity, and sometimes even scamming players to get out of here, so that players are spending their time, they're committing to improving their games, they're spending their money, and really going to an opportunity. I know for me, if I had gone to one of these exposure camps that it wasn't a real opportunity, I maybe would not met my agent. I maybe would have had the opportunity to try out with the Nets and the Warriors and the Wizards. And, it's just, I really, definitely check out Eyeball United, but at the same time, definitely share your experiences and ask questions and really demand more out of these camps, especially that resume. Definitely have something where you go and you're going to get video, you're going to have a way to maintain your resume, and really understand that they are working to your benefit before, during, and even after exposure camp. Whether you're the best player there or even the person who maybe has to improve on their game.
Thanks, Howard. And that's a pretty good answer. I hope that helps you, Sully. Just to expand on that, I'd like to say that I totally align with you, by the way, Howard, on you should be demanding more from your camps. I mean, the whole idea behind Beyond Athletic and what I'm trying to build with that is go deeper, give players more to be developing right there at the camps. I mean, if you can't get like that mentorship during the camps where people are answering questions on how do I deal with the fear of taking this shot, or how do I deal with, the fact that I'm scared to talk about the fact that I'm so tired, or I feel injured, or I can't push through. These types of things should be addressed. And if they're not addressing them, you can address them. You can ask questions, always ask questions. If ever you feel lost, you should definitely be saying that. I want to hit up two questions kind of at the same time. I'm going to throw something in, and then please, Heather, Howard, Susan, throw something in there. But Taya Scott asks, can you all give advice, insight on seeking good quality, consistent, realistic opportunities abroad And she goes into saying, basically, been out of sport for a while. How do I get started, right? And there's another one from Tatiana Coleman that says, are there any areas in my game that I need to be working on, training, and developing before moving from college to pro? And I want to kind of throw these together. Sorry, guys. But you want to be doing everything you can to develop the skills that are weaker, for sure. But you want to get a coach to say to you, okay, here's where I see your strengths are, and here's where I see your weaknesses. And then you can ask pros or go on to like these kind of chats and see what are the qualities of athletes in your position that take them to the next level. What do they excel at that keeps them there? Work on those things and then create videos from them, you know, progressively. Take video of yourself, put up your iPad, your iPhone, whatever. Record yourself. If you're playing in a tournament, I don't care if it's a street game, if you can get any kind of video, Periscope it. You know, Periscope's a great app. You can do live streaming. Show people what you're doing. Hook it up onto your Facebook site. Do whatever. Promote that link through your CV. Always have links for your video on your CV, like how we was talking about. It's crazy important. And if you can't pick up an agent, because like, for instance, Carolina Blanco, I put the post of her talking in agents, working with them or not. She was like, listen, we're not going to take, if they're not high quality athletes, they're not coming on. If we haven't contacted them, we're not interested. But if you want to know if they're interested, contact them and they will tell you whether they are or not. You'll know where you stand. And if they're not, do the groundwork yourself. Find the federations. When I was going abroad, I don't even know if Heather knows this, but like I had to find pro teams. So I looked up federations. Okay, volleyball in Czech Republic, Germany, all these countries. And then I'd go through that, and I was using translator services. Now Google Chrome will do it for you. And I'd look up volleyball teams, and I'd try and find the leagues, the contact of the league, and then teams. Find an email, a phone number. I'd email them my resume super simply. I'd say, I'm Ryan Jay Owens. I touch 11-11. I play middle blocker, and I want to play this. Here's my CV link and video. Boom. You try and push yourself as hard as possible. And last case, it's maybe crazy, but I moved abroad with no return plan. I just went over there and I said, I'm going to find a job. And I just went to teams and I literally walk up to a training and be like, I play volleyball. Do you mind if I play a little bit? I know it sounds crazy, but listen, I did it with the national team. I walked into the national team gym and was like, can I train? And they're like, who are you? And I'm like, here's my CV and video. I got on a national team because I pushed myself. You need to be the biggest marketer of yourself. And I know I'm rambling on here, but I hope that helps answer those questions. Do you guys have anything to add on that? Heather, maybe?
Oh, wow. I mean,
I would say because I didn't have to
Heather,
do
but
that.
I love everything.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that. I mean, I got my exposure from being on the national team. Like I was fortunate enough to join straight out of college. And then after my first tournament overseas was because it was in Europe and all of the GMs and stuff from Italy would come. And so that's how I got noticed. So we were talking about, I believe in the chat, they were talking about some of the volleyball excursions that they go overseas and they do like a week. They choose a country and they'll go and they'll play against different club teams. Yeah. I mean, those are great ways to be seen because you never know who's going to be at that stuff and who's going to be able to see you and then get your contact information from those outings. And I'm sure they have them with basketball and I'm sure Mark would have attested to them with football as well. Those are out there. You just kind of have to search them. Credibility wise, I'm not really sure who's maybe the best. But the opportunities are there if you want to search. Like Ryan, you were saying, you went and did the legwork yourself. Like it's not going to come to you. You're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to find it. And I think that's a testament just to your drive. Yeah. But everything's out there. It's out there for our taking. And if you can find a way to kind of get into it and just get overseas and try it out, because within that trip, you might be like, oh, maybe this overseas thing's not for me, because there's a lot of those moving parts that maybe you're not used to. If you're a homebody and you like to be home, like there was a number of girls on the national team that struggled being overseas. They struggled being away from home. They struggled with the culture shock. And it was really hard. So like earlier, we were talking about the first year being that testing year. Like it's true. And that's even for girls that are at the high level. Like it's not within them to want to live there. And so it gets really, really tough. But I mean, the opportunities are there if you can find them, and you just got to kind of be comfortable being uncomfortable and put yourself out there and have fun with it. Yeah. Just enjoy it, because you're learning. If you're traveling, you're learning. It's one of the best educations you can get.
I just wanted to jump in and add to the question from the person in the university, the player that's still in the university. We said it before, your video, that's your responsibility right now. Get your game video, get it in order, and start building your CV, whether you have agents contacting you or not. And then I also see in basketball all the time that, players, they work out every day. They go hard in the gym. They're trying to get every opportunity to be seen, but they don't manage the CV and they don't promote themselves. So as Ryan was saying, there's research, there's tools out there. I know with ICANN, we give out all those contacts. So you can either come to our camp and prove yourself and get that resource at the highest level, that elite level, or you can, pay for it and then get the tools to move yourself up the ladder and definitely contact everyone that you can with your CV. That's the part that a lot of players don't understand, that if you're not having those agents knock on your door. I mean, I went from, trying out with the Nets to sitting at home for almost a year and a half. And it wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have been proactive with getting my, at that time, videotape in the hand of a former teammate in Spain. So, you really have to be proactive about seeking out those opportunities. They're not just going to fall into your lap.
Yeah. And Susan,
I think proactivity is probably a good summary to this session, right? If you have to be proactive in order to make it work, whether it is finding a job abroad, whether it's finding a new contract, or whether it is, finding people to hang out with once you're abroad. If you're sitting on your butt and you're not doing anything, you think that it's going to fall in your lap. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. And I mean, we're going into our break time here. We're going to come up with a new session in a little bit on nutrition. But you mind if I wrap up some things here, Susan? Just kind of like, I want to hit up a really couple important things that weren't touched on.
Sure.
First of all, to Hey Frenchie, you're asking about food. You're going to wonder about if food is available when you're overseas. You'll be able to find whatever you want, but you got to look hard. Trust me. Or bring it over with you.
And you have to pay.
Amazon.com and bring it in one luggage over with you. I know Therese Crawford, she was taking a full suitcase over to Istanbul when she went. So, take whatever you want when you go over there. You can find a lot of stuff over there. You can look for, if you're, for instance, an American or a Canadian, or you're from wherever, look for groups of people that might be doing things in that area. Research, like if a group of Germans are in this area, or if there are U.S. Army bases all over the world. If you're from America, find those bases and go there. You'll be able to get in and go shop, get whatever crispy, crunchy, whatever Captain Crunch you want. Hopefully you're not eating that crap.
And
coming up, so
and send your parents and everybody that's visiting you a list of things that they should bring.
Care packages are the best thing when you're abroad. So listen, just wrapping up here, I really want to stress, you need to take what you're learning in sport, right? We're learning so many skills in sports that translate to other things that we can be doing in life. So if you are learning in sport how to push the envelope every single day, how to get better, how to challenge yourself, how to take more risks, you need to take those same risks when you're trying to pursue getting to a new level, contacting new people, getting out of your element, like they talked about. Get out of that comfort zone. Don't get too far out. Don't be trying to, as a 16-year-old and you just started playing your sport, walk into a national team gym and be like, hey, I'm ready, I'm here. It's crazy, but try to find something in the middle and go for it and really be prepared. And just know that if someone says no, keep going until you feel like you've tried every single alternative. Do not give up on that. And there's lots of people, and I just want to throw it out there, if you want to be a part of a support group for athletes that are going abroad, whether they're going abroad for school or pro, go to beyondathletic.com/help. And you can join a mentorship network, or just, go to Beyond Athletic and listen to those episodes about people who are abroad, like Heather. Oh my God, her episode on Beyond Athletic is incredible. So listen to these stories, how they failed, how they succeeded, and the tools and tips that help them duplicate success, right? and what they're looking forward to in the future. And you'll have an idea on what to do for yourself. Cool? Does that work, Susan? Did I do a good job?
Definitely learn from the others.
All right, guys. So there's
cool.
On the side, there's the link for the next episode. I hope you join us for nutrition. If you like what we were just talking about, tweet out that last 30 seconds, Facebook it, share this with whoever you think it will impact. Always share knowledge. Thank you. I'm out.
Thanks so much for joining, Howard, Heather, Mark.
Thank you. It was fun.
See you in an hour.
Bye.
Bye.